My name is Dr. Noel Keller. I've been a Sister of Mercy 63 years. When everybody went into first grade, I entered the community. That's a lie. I first came in 1959 when I was a senior in high school, and I examined 3 colleges. Lady Cliff in New York, Anna Maria Paxton, Massachusetts, and this one. And I knew when I went through the arch that this was home, but not on a permanent basis. But God was laughing, because since 4th grade I was destined to become a nun. And how do I know that? Because they dressed a couple of us up for a poster, and I have a picture of myself in 4th grade dressed as a mercy nun. But I had no idea it was a novitiate at all. And had I gone to Lady Cliff, I probably would have married a cadet from West Point, because that was the sister place. Okay. My parents took me to Canada the night before I entered because they thought I would never leave the country again. As of today, in 2024, I have been in 38 countries, and I taught in Ireland, in Israel, and in Guyana. I was then sent to teach after entering and going through the novitiate, and etc. And I ended up in New York, where I needed 12 graduate credits, because New York doesn't take out-of-state degrees unless you get 12 more credits. So I decided that I would get my master's, and I decided to do theology. And I went to Manhattan College in the Bronx, where I learned I was destined to teach the Bible. So I wrote to Sister Mariana, who had at this point founded the Institute on Sacred Scripture. I told her I wanted to be a scripture scholar. I didn't have the money to go to her institute. Give me a job. And she put me in charge of hospitality. So every summer I would come up and I would be in charge of making sure that anybody that came to the institute had a good time, which they did. And as in recompense, I got to go to the institute. I ended up teaching high school in New York at St. Francis Prep, and it was there that I began giving trips besides teaching. I started taking people to Europe, students and faculty, and older people. And so I taught and I gave retreats. And then I went from there to Western Priory, where I was there for 1 year doing hospitality for the monks. And from there, I became the director of campus ministry at Misericordia. I am the one that introduced mercy. I was told that because we made this. You can pass it around. We gave it to every single person on the campus, okay, for Mercy Day. I think the 2nd year that I was here. And we made of mercy a way to share and a way to care, okay? Hospitality and compassion. And years later, when they decided to have 4 pillars, they wanted to know who introduced mercy. And Sister Ruth Kelly said, Noel Keller. It was the leitmotif of campus ministry, and it was. And the same person, it was my student, I had 2 student secretaries. She made this, and it hung actually for 17 years in what was then Merrick Hall. And it was the leitmotif even into Michael Bryant, I guess, but I started it. I also started Mercy Week and Mercy Charism retreats, and we got everybody involved, everybody. I mean, I had a board, and the board was composed of maintenance people, secretaries, staff, faculty, and students. So anything we did with everybody's input, to the point that when Chuck LaJeunesse was doing one of his surveys, campus ministry was judged the most effective place on the campus by users and non-users alike. Okay. And as I said, I did trips. Besides, I taught the nurses for Misericordia at Mercy Hospital in Wilkes-Barre in the fall, and Mercy Hospital Scranton in the spring. And then I also was made director of the Institute. Because of that, the community asked me to go on for a higher degree. And I went to Chicago, where I got a PhD in the New Testament and the Greco-Roman world. And then subsequently, when I came back to Misericordia in 1995, I also, besides teaching the Bible, taught the Greco-Roman world in Elder Hostel for 3 summers for Tom O'Neill. So I returned in 1995, and I was supposed to teach, but there was no room in the inn. I never got to teach. I taught at Marywood. I taught at other Mercy colleges, but I never taught here again. And I was assigned to continuing education, and they wanted me to come up with something. I came up with the Catherine Macaulay Mind, Body, and Spirit Institute, and Dr. Anderson told me I couldn't do that because he was going to do that with the hospital, and by the way, that never happened. And so I came up with Trips for a Difference, And as a result, I have gone to Europe about 160 times. I have taken all kinds of people, everywhere, Northeast, South, and West. I have 2 trips coming up, and I am still packing my bag. So when I came full-time, but then when they couldn't fit me into the theology department because Stephen Davies was here, and I taught and I ran the institute, I was put on part-time. So being young and energetic and not wanting to just sit around, I took myself down to Core Ministries and got myself involved there. And from there, I gave 19 pages of talks. I mean, my CV is 19 pages all over the United States on the Bible, on the Greco-Roman world, connecting the two, the context to the text, and et cetera, et cetera. And I took 16 loads of people to walk and pray Catherine. In fact, they hired me then to be on the first faculty for Wellsprings in Dublin. So today I'm still on the staff. I'm still doing retreats and trips, and my legacies are 2. When it's all over, when they finally put me down and say you're retired, The institute was named after me, so it's the Dr. Noel Keller Institute on Sacred Scripture, which is nice. Well, I mean, my favorite times really are with the students, with taking students and faculty to Catherine's house and walking them all over Dublin, giving them the context to the text. I love teaching Elder Hostel. I love teaching, giving talks and retreats. What I loved about Misericordia, and I always have, is everybody has a place here. And everybody can come here and everybody can learn here. I mean, we have an arch that people come through, and there's 2 columns on it. One is completed and one is incompleted. That arch is redone on the top of this building and on the top of Insulaco. It means you come, and this is what God has in mind for you, and this is one of the stops along the way helping you to become this. And this is what we say to students when they come through the arch. It's not just going to be the academics that are going to mold you. It's going to be the relationships that you have. It's going to be the culture. It's going to be the fun, who you meet, where you go, what you do here. And everybody has a place.